Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. You've probably seen quite a few webinars recently referring to the Next Generation series and things like the System Platform 2017 release and InTouch OMI. We thought we would also host one on the standalone InTouch product. So this is outside of anything to do with System Platform. This is our core InTouch HMI software that we're referring to today. So just to make a start on, I suppose, what InTouch is, just as a very quick overview slide, it is essentially just a HMI, and on the screen you can see there a typical screen that you might see in a plant environment. One of the things that has started to differentiate InTouch over the years that it's been developed is they started to move to this situational awareness type view, and they make it easier and easier for us to be able to enable these graphics inside of this type of layout, and this replicates throughout all the Wonderware SCADA products. So we're also talking about System Platform in that respect as well. But the interesting thing between these two slides, or these two images, is that the image on the left displays exactly the same information as the image on the right, and yet on the right-hand side it's very easy to see exactly where the problem lies. So the time to resolution is quickened because you can quickly identify where you need to go and resolve that problem. So then just a bit about, I suppose, the last 30 years of leadership that InTouch has been running for. It's still the world's #1 HMI. It is renowned for its ease of use, and they continue with that theme as we move forward, and you'll see some features today that also support that. There's powerful graphic capabilities in Arcus Graphics, which I'll talk about a bit more on the next slide. It does integrate with System Platform, so for those of you that are familiar with it, this is the client front end that we've always used for System Platform. If you've been to any of the roadshows or you've seen any of the latest webinars, then you'll also know that we do have a new InTouch OMI client. That is something that is completely different to this InTouch version, and something that it's a complete aside from it. This is really just to show you that we integrate in System Platform in many ways. And one of the ways that you may have done it in the past is if you've introduced System Platform as a secondary measure. So you've got your standalone InTouch on site, you introduce something like System Platform sitting across the top, and then you integrate InTouch into that environment. Now there's no standard migration path to be able to move from standalone InTouch to System Platform, but what you have always been able to do is bring in things like the data and create an overarching SCADA or InTouch layer that all reports into System Platform. And they've made that even easier from the 2017 release because they've simplified the licensing. The 2017 release no longer needs platform licenses for System Platform, so you can now integrate your InTouch directly into System Platform without having to buy a platform license for every InTouch that you have. So that's one of the major benefits there. They do have a lot of graphics, so whereas referred to situational awareness earlier on, there's a lot of stuff out of the box. They've got a whole library of symbols that already exist, and you can drag them on the screen. Now, it isn't a case of dragging them on the screen and it's a one-size-fits-all. There's lots of different options you can choose from to move them around and make them look and feel how you want them to look and feel. And you get much more increased effectiveness, which I've already referred to with regards to situational awareness. And for some time now, we've been able to get the entire SCADA application through a HTML5 browser, and that's a secure remote access. So from any device, anywhere, anytime, there's real good capability to that. And we've got quite a few people adopting that these days. But what does it mean if you move into something like InTouch or you're upgrading? Well, Wonderware always makes sure you're protecting your engineering investment. So they always make sure that you can migrate from an older version up to the latest version. And it will also coexist with the latest InTouch OMI client for System Platform. So it's not a case of we're dropping InTouch. InTouch is still a big part of our business. It's it's installed in hundreds of thousands of plants around the world. It is not a product that they're going to drop. And hopefully from this webinar you'll see some of the investment they've made because of some of the features they've put into this release. Then just going back a bit to the Arcus Graphics that I mentioned earlier, this is another way that you can protect your investment, because if you have already developed graphics in this view before, then you can take those graphics and you can use them throughout the different SCADA environments. It also, they're much more advanced than the typical graphics that people used years ago. We really urge people to get onto the Arcus Graphics bandwagon if they haven't done already. The vector base, which I'm sure you already know about, so it doesn't care about moving or changing the size of those graphics. And this has also helped with one of the latest features in the pan and zoom capabilities that have come to this release. And all of the situational awareness library that I referred to earlier there, all Arcus Graphics. So what have we got that's new inside of this release? So there's a lot of engineering efficiencies, and I'm going to cover these in much more depth through some videos that I've put together. There's some new licensing technology, so they've changed the way that we license the products. It's all centralized, all makes sense, and it makes things much easier. And there's some nice runtime and user experiences that I'll also show in the videos as well. So to begin with, if we start with some of the screen resolution and scripting, so this is obviously to do with the engineering efficiencies. And to start with, I'm just going to choose a custom screen resolution. So in the past, when we've said about developing an InTouch or an InTouch SCADA, we've always said develop on the same screen resolution you're going to run the system on. Well, with this release, when you go to create a new application and choosing a modern application here, as you can see, we now get the option to choose what resolution we want to develop in. So it's going to ask me a few of the standard questions, and you see here now we've got a selected target resolution. At the moment it defaults to my screen resolution, but I'm going to change this to a 1280 by 1024. So my target is obviously in this case smaller, but I want to develop in a development environment where I don't have to replicate exactly what I've got on the plant floor. It's been a question that's been raised many a time throughout my time here. So then when it goes through the creation process, and because it is a modern application, it now does create a Galaxy and a SQL Express database in the back end. This is so we can get full use of the Arcus graphic technology. But it does all that for you. So you can see the list of things that it's gone through there. There's no configuration your side to do, and then we'll see that new application appearing there with the resolution of 1280 by 1024. Then the next video I'm going to go on to is got some script usage in there, but what it'll start with is what we were on before with regards to we've just created the application, and we're now going to go into Window Maker, and you'll see it doesn't ask you to convert to the screen resolution we're running because we've chosen that resolution, that target resolution. And inside, what we do get is a border. So you can see a border around the screen. That shows us our working area for the 1280 by 1024. I'm going to create a window in there to exactly that size, just a simple test window. The standard way that you would do. And then what I'm going to do is show you some of the script usage. So we're going to start with we're going to put a data change in there, and the data change is going to be based on $second, so it's just a system tag referring to the second, so every second it will make a change. And you can see what we've started to get with this now is some IntelliSense. We've got some autocomplete. So I've already got a tag in my system called level. So, I mean, we've got line numbers there as well, something we've never had before. But when you start to type, it will automatically pop up with a thing. So your engineering time is reduced because you can just do autocomplete on that kind of thing. So it's just a dead simple script. We're just going to increment a level so you can see something moving on the screen when I drop the Arcus graphic on there. Just make sure that validates okay. And then, because it's a modern application, you can see on the right-hand side here, we have our Arcus Graphics toolbox. So this is all the Arcus Graphics that exist, and inside of here I'm looking at my situational awareness library, and I'm simply going to drag a graphic straight onto the canvas. I don't have to open it or click an embed button. I can just drag from that toolbox into there. And when I mentioned about the wizard options, I'm going to change the look and feel of it here, so it's no longer going to be vertical. I'm going to change it to horizontal instead. There's obviously other things you can change. And inside of the custom properties, so this is where I link it to my tag inside of InTouch. So I'm going to link it to my level tag. Just delete the rest out. And then I'm going to put a max range and a min range in there in the same way, so it's just the dot field associated with the tag. Just so you can see something moving on screen. So I can do it all through the tag browser. So that's that graphic configured, and you can see it's changed to horizontal. I'm just going to go into the fast switch into window viewer, and you'll see this start to move, and you can see the way that the application displays inside. Because my resolution is much bigger on this app, I'm inside a window in effect, so it tells me exactly the right real estate that I've got to be able to engineer my application. Quite a neat feature. So with regards to that target resolution, it doesn't mean you have to stick with that. So this is just a dead short video just to show you some of the changes that you can make with that. So under special configure and target resolution, inside of here, this is where it references the size that I was referring to. So I'm going to change it now back to my screen resolution. Then automatically it's changed the background size of that window maker to equal the right size. But I'll just go back into my application manager, you'll see now the resolution has changed inside of here back to 1920 by 1080. And I could obviously go in and engineer it in that size if I wanted to. So that's some of the engineering benefits, and then we've also got some others in here, but there's also some nice user environment that we're changing with this. So if we look at the application and window templates that I've started to use. So the application templates again is an engineering efficiency, and with this I'm going to create a new application again, but this time you can see there's a tick box here to use an application template, and I can click to select which one I want. And there's some that already exist in here from Wonderware as like demos or things that you can actually use for your environment, because they are actually quite neat, and I'll show you some of that demo when we go into it. But all I'll do is select that template and then go through the standard windows and interfaces that we need to. And this, you can also create your own templates as well if you want to. So if you're replicating things on a regular basis, if you're an OEM creating things on multiple applications, and you want always to have exactly the same look and feel and all the same elements inside of each application, you can create a new application from a template that you've defined instead. So this is just creating the galaxy to begin with, like I did before, creating all the elements, and then it will jump into everything that exists as part of that application template. So what we're seeing next is some details on all the objects and the items that it's going to import, all the graphics associated with that particular application. So it's just generating it all for us. It doesn't take long either. There's quite a lot of things inside this application, and then you see it skip a load of the others. But it's still quite a quick process to get through. And when we've done that, it'll appear again in our application manager, and we can just go into Window Maker to have a look at it. and I think this is a very neat and a very clean look and feel to the application. So you see all the windows appear, and that's our application designed from an application template. And you can see there's loads of things that exist inside of it. And the next video shows you now a little bit about this application itself. So if we go into the runtime environment and show you a bit about how it navigates through, what they've included inside of it. It's all Arcus Graphics, so it's all using the latest technologies. So you see there's built-in navigation, so I can click on a window and go to each one. I can click back through the buttons at the top. There's also things like log on that have automatically been implemented in if you're using security. That flashing icon is a diagnostics pane. But if I go back to home, one of the new user experiences that they've introduced here is the pan and zoom. So you can see on a desktop I can use my scroll wheel to zoom into the right place. So it gives us more real estate. If I was obviously on a touch screen using InTouch Anywhere, I could use pinch and zoom and move around with my finger instead of the scroll bars. Again, it's quite neat functionality, but it's only because of the Arcus Graphics that it makes this possible. And the way they do that is with something called window frames. So that middle element there is a window frame. I'm going to show you how we create that. So it's a standard window that you see. I'm going to give it a name, and all we've got to do, just give it the right sizes, and then there's a checkbox there to say we want this to be a frame. So once I've selected that, that'll create that window for me. And you can see in the bottom right hand side we've got a properties pane associated with that. That's another new element to this, so it provides some properties. All I'm going to do is drag my overview graphic onto that frame, and now you see my layout and my pan and zoom controls appear inside of there. These overview graphics, so this is a full Arcus graphic that contains all of the windows inside of there, and then there's a graphic for each window that we navigate through. So if you ever wanted to, I suppose, make amendments to this application to use as your own, all you've got to do to do that is embed a graphic on this window inside of this Arcus graphic, and then it'll get it working. So I'm going to go back to my meters and just put another meter on there. You can see that added it to it. Save and close that environment, and then when I go into my runtime environment and look at the window and the same navigation that I've just used, I'll have that graphic embedded. So it quickens up your engineering time, and it's a very simple way of working. You don't have to use these by any means, but you can see I've now got that embedded graphic on there. It's a very, very quick time, even quicker than normal, to get an application up and running. One other thing they've done is window templates, and again, this is another engineering efficiency. So what you can do is define some of your windows as actual templates instead. So you see I've got that open there, and at the bottom we've got a template tick box. You see the window then moves to a slightly different place on the project view. So I'm going to just close that window and create a brand new one. Well, this time I want to do it from a template, so you can see the template icon in there. Click the box and it will show me the only template that I've got that exists in there. I'm just going to give it a different name, so it's not the same, and it replicates everything that exists inside of that window template. So again, if you want the same look and feel when you're creating windows, it's very, very easy to get that using those templates. Then some of the improvements have been made to InTouch Anywhere. So they've replicated they've made the pan and zoom feature function well in here. So when I mentioned the pan and zoom and being able to move around, that fully works inside of this. So deploy a full SCADA application to any device, and you can use the pan and zoom on those frames to be able to get access to them. And then if we have a look at the license technology that's changed, they have moved to an activated license. Now, some of our products already use this, but the 2017 release, you'll start to see many more inside of it. And the way that they've done this is, or the reason is to move to centralized management. It makes it much, much easier. You actually physically access an activation server that exists in the cloud somewhere from a Schneider Electric perspective to download those licenses. It doesn't mean that you need an internet connection everywhere. There is the option for online or offline activation, but it does allow you from a centralized location to understand which machines contain which licenses. So you're physically reserving a node based on the products for that license. It means we get to reduce our part numbers, reduce the number of disks and things you get through the post. There's many, many benefits to it. It also, because of the technology, means we are able to supply less licenses to you. So things like the platforms that they've removed in the 2017 release, they're also removing the failover load balance licenses for InTouch for System Platform and the InTouch RDS servers, because the new licensing technology will take hold of that and grab that for you. So that was the restriction there. It wasn't a case of just charging extra for those redundant licenses. So there's lots of good things come with the licensing. Makes it a lot easier for everybody involved. So then, just to summarise, this is a product that's been around for a very long time. It's designed on the same technology. It's world-leading. The engineering efficiency, hopefully you've seen from some of those demos, they've introduced lots of new features and things that are going to help you to engineer the applications easier and quicker. Even the operator usability is getting better. I always was under the impression that it's only going to be this new client that would allow for things like pan and zoom, but they've managed to introduce it into InTouch, which is a really good thing. The new license technology is obviously going to help us all, and then the connectivity is the same going forward. So everything that you see where we release connectivity to new devices, new PLCs, that is just the same throughout all the WonderWare product set, and that's no different with InTouch. So now I'm just going to unmute the line. Okay, so if there's any questions, if anybody would like to ask. Any questions? Okay. It doesn't look like there's any questions, so I'd just like to thank you all for your time and look forward to seeing you on the next one.